human connection. I think we are becoming less and less connected because face to face is not as normal now. We're thinking about like how do we optimize our work setup? How do we work out our workspace and what works best for us? I think the really what I find the most impactful is just like being in a room with a person, going through the stuff that we need to talk about, whether it's coaching and development, whether it's performance, whether it's overall happiness. I think just the lost art of just like being together and just talking to people face to face, I think is one of my things I think we forget the most. And I mean, I often hear I put out the message on a Slack, a message on a email. I reminded people virtually multiple times, but have you actually just told them face to face? Right. I think that it's kind of a lost art. And I don't blame people, right? Because it's very easy for us to become disconnected in this space nowadays with our access to our phones, access to technology. And I mean, I think it's making leaders lose the muscle about how do I host a conversation? How do I host a challenging conversation? Right? How do I do a proper check-in with a person? Like, are you really feeling okay? How do you do that? Like, and I think it's just becoming more and more of a lost art.
Mm. I think there's a lot of talk in the leadership and AI space right now that a lot of cognitive roles are going to be disrupted by agentic AI and generative AI. And what it's going to do is it's going to create this almost like this fissure in people's lives where they're going to be forced to confront their own humanity in a massive way, and where they're going to need to really dig deep and understand what their purpose in life is, to understand who they are. And I think especially people in leadership positions, I think these are people where a lot of the passion has been to lead effectively and skillfully, and then when that's changed massively, and perhaps the way that you think that you were going to gain your livelihood or you were going to live your life, it gets changed. That's going to be a big reckoning, and it's going to have dramatic ripple effect. And I think that's really interesting how you share it's a lost art to really understand who you are. And when things change so rapidly, it's going to be a big reckoning almost in a sense for people to really connect with that. So, thinking about leaders and this anticipated challenge of human connection, what do you think are some of the core things that are going to be essential to support leaders in fostering that human connection?
You need to have somebody that's going to be the person that can help check you on your false narrative sometimes. I think it's very easy for us to not to view ourselves as doing everything possible to become the best leader. You need someone there to be like, are you really thinking about the blinders that you might have on, the filters you might have on? Are you really being as direct and clear as you need to? Are you really spending amount of time that you need to do for yourself to prepare and recover? Right. I was listening to a podcast yesterday on my run, and they were talking about like taking vacation. And you hear some people like, my team doesn't take vacation. Do you take a vacation? Do you take a vacation to rest and recover? So what I'm saying is you can say everything correct, but if there's not someone to call you out, are you actually role modeling it, the right behaviors? Are you actually doing what you're saying? I think that is an important feature, and also allowing somebody to give you that, because it's very easy to become very defensive when somebody is trying to tell you something about yourself that you might not have that picture, that vision of yourself, right? You might be seeing it in a different lens, but no, this is actually what's happened, right? So I think you kind of need that person over your shoulder that's going to help you along. For me, I have a partner, I have my wife, right? And she's just very direct. Sometimes she's just like, oh, that's how you view it. in a different way. So I'm very appreciative of that. But we need that. You need that person in your life.